The Dallas Cowboys. Remember when they were the team everyone feared? 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, the kind of dominance that made even your uncle who doesn't watch football call them America's team. But now they're America's most frustrating soap opera. And at the center of it all is Jerry Jones. The man, the myth, the ego. Jerry didn't just buy the Cowboys, he became the Cowboys. Today, we're breaking down why Jerry Jones is both the Cowboys' biggest fan and their ultimate downfall. Spoiler, it's a tale of ego, bad decisions, and just a sprinkle of chaos. Let's rewind to 1989, a year when mullets were in, shoulder pads were massive, and Jerry Jones was making one of the boldest moves in sports history. He bought the Dallas Cowboys for $140 million. At the time, that seemed like a jaw-dropping sum. Today, that's about the cost of Ezekiel Elliott running the ball sideways for a loss of 2 yards. Back then, the Cowboys were anything but America's team. They were more like America's embarrassment, coming off a 3-13 season and looking more lost than a quarterback without a pocket. But Jerry wasn't your typical owner. He brought swagger, ambition, and a Texan-sized ego. And, most importantly, he brought in Jimmy Johnson, a coach so intense he probably game-planned his kids' chore charts. Under Jimmy's leadership and Jerry's wallet, the Cowboys went from zero to dynasty in record time. 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. 3! It wasn't just football, it was poetry in motion. Except the poetry involved Troy Aikman's arm, Emmitt Smith's legs, and Michael Irvin's trash-talking defenders into submission. Jerry looked like a genius. The kind of genius who wins a poker hand on the river card, but hey, it still counts. And Jimmy? Well, he was a genius. But then came the problem. Jerry wanted to be more than the guy signing the checks. He wanted the spotlight, the credit, the whole enchilada. Spoiler alert, it wasn't Jerry. If you're enjoying this video and nodding along, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow, and we'd love to have you join our community of NFL fans. And hey, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss the next deep dive into the NFL's most fascinating stories. Now, let's get back to the roller coaster that is Jerry Jones's Cowboys. This is the breakup Cowboys fans still whisper about like it's a family scandal. Jerry and Jimmy were the Lennon and McCartney of football. Together, they churned out hits, Super Bowls, highlight reels, and a dynasty so dominant. But here's the thing about Lennon and McCartney. Eventually, one of them wants more credit, and in this case, Jerry was the guy yelling, "Hey, I write songs too!" Jimmy Johnson was a mastermind, a coach who could turn chaos into a championship. But Jerry wanted the spotlight, the headlines. So what does Jerry do? He replaces Jimmy with Barry Switzer, a coach who basically got handed the football equivalent of a Tesla with full autopilot. Switzer won a Super Bowl, but let's be real, he was cruising in the Ferrari that Jimmy built. After that, the wheels came off. The Cowboys went from a dynasty to a punchline, stumbling through seasons of mediocrity with a highlight here and there to keep fans from rioting. Jerry got what he wanted, to be the face of the franchise, and now, instead of Super Bowl rings, he's collecting internet memes about how the Cowboys can't get past the divisional rounds. Jerry wanted to be the star, but he forgot that stars shine brightest when they're surrounded by the right constellation. Here's where the plot thickens. And by thickens, I mean it turns into a soap opera starring Jerry Jones as both the hero and the villain. Most NFL owners hire a general manager to make the tough calls. You know, someone whose job is to actually know football, study players, and make data-driven decisions. But Jerry? Oh no. Jerry said, why hire someone when I can just look in the mirror? He's not just the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, he's also the general manager, the head of PR, unofficially, and probably the guy picking halftime snacks. Because running $1 billion franchise isn't enough when you can also micromanage every aspect of it. The results? Let's just say Jerry's draft record is a mixed bag. For every Micah Parsons, who looks like he was born to terrorize quarterbacks, there's a Taco Charlton, who fans still talk about like he's a bad breakup. For every CeeDee Lamb, there's a draft pick that has people asking, wait, who did we just spend millions on? Jerry loves to take risks, and sometimes it pays off. But other times, it feels like he's spinning a roulette wheel and hoping it lands on Super Bowl champion. The problem? When you're both the guy making the decisions and the guy signing off on them, there's no one to tell you, boss, maybe don't do that. It's the ultimate power move, but it also means that when things go wrong, and they often do, the blame game starts and ends with Jerry. Let's dive into AT&T Stadium, affectionately, or sarcastically, dubbed Jerry's World. This isn't just a stadium. It's a billion-dollar monument to Jerry Jones's ambition and, let's be honest, his ego. It's got a retractable roof, luxury suites that look like they belong in a Bond villain's lair, and a jumbotron so massive it might have its own gravitational pull. Seriously, astronauts on the International Space Station are probably keeping up with Cowboys games whether they want to or not. Jerry didn't just build a place to play football. He built an entertainment mecca. Concerts, boxing matches, college football games, you name it, Jerry's hosting it. And you can bet that he's got that proud dad look every time a drone pans over his masterpiece. But here's the rub. While Jerry is busy turning the Cowboys into the NFL's ultimate cash cow and tourism hotspot, Jerry World is a marvel, sure, but its glitz and glamour don't mean much when your playoff drought has its own Twitter account. The focus has shifted from football to spectacle. But Cowboys fans aren't asking for better LED light shows. They're asking for a postseason run that doesn't end in heartbreak. At some point, the question becomes, what's the point of the world's greatest stadium if the team inside isn't living up to the hype? The Cowboys are the kings of the regular season. Time and time again, they've stormed through with solid records, electrifying plays, and just enough swagger to make you believe this is their year. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's like they forget the script. Let's break down some recent heartbreaks. Take the 2016 season, for example. The Cowboys finished with a stunning 13-3 record, fueled by the breakout performances of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Cowboys fans were flying high, convinced that this was finally the year to end their Super Bowl drought. But then came the divisional playoffs against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Final score, 34-31. Despite a nail-biting comeback, Rodgers' iconic sideline throw set up the game-winning field goal, sending the Cowboys packing. Or what about 2014, the infamous Dez Bryant catch game? The Cowboys went 12-4 that year and had the makings of a championship contender. But in the divisional round against the Packers, again, controversy struck. Final score, 26-21. Another season down the drain and another year of what could have been. And let's not forget the 2007 season. The Cowboys went 13-3 with Tony Romo leading one of the most explosive offenses in the league. But in the divisional round, Eli Manning and the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants pulled off a shocking upset. Final score, 21-17. Just like that, the dream was over. Here's the thing about Jerry Jones. He doesn't like being challenged. And if you're wondering why the Dallas Cowboys haven't seen a Super Bowl in over 2 decades, this might be one of the reasons. Jerry surrounds himself with people who nod, smile, and say, "Great idea, Jerry," even when the idea is about as solid as a papier-mâché wall in a hurricane. Take Jason Garrett, for example. The man coached the Cowboys for nearly a decade. In the NFL, that's an eternity. Why? Because Jerry liked him. And when Jerry likes you, you get more chances than a cat with 9 lives. Garrett was like that one buddy you can't shake, no matter how many bad decisions he makes. Sure, he might not be the best fit, but Jerry liked him, so Jason stuck around long after the fresh face charm wore off. But here's the kicker. Sometimes what you need isn't a yes man. Sometimes you need someone who will be brave enough to tell you, "Hey Jerry, maybe we shouldn't run a quarterback draw with no timeouts left." Someone who won't just smile and say, "Great idea," when it's clearly not. But in Jerry's world, that's hard to come by. Now, let's entertain a little what-if scenario. What if Jerry actually took a step back and let the football experts, do their thing? What if he let actual football minds make football decisions instead of trying to micromanage every play and every draft pick? The Cowboys might have been a dynasty again by now. Imagine it. A well-oiled machine firing on all cylinders with the Lombardi Trophy being added to the case every few years. Instead, we've gotten 2 decades of mediocrity. The Cowboys are always in the conversation. Always. But it's like being stuck in the friend zone of the NFL. They're close, but never quite there. They flirt with greatness, but when it's time to close the deal, they somehow just don't. To be fair, the Cowboys aren't completely hopeless. There's talent in Dallas. Real, undeniable talent. Players like Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, and Trevon Diggs are the real deal. The potential is there, big time. But potential is just that. Potential. It doesn't count for anything if the guy at the top is too busy being in the spotlight to actually build a team capable of winning that spotlight. Jerry's biggest strength is his passion. He cares so much about the Cowboys. But that same passion is also his biggest weakness. He loves the spotlight, the fame, the drama, and sometimes that means he can't get out of his own way. Until that changes, the Cowboys will keep spinning their wheels, tantalizing their fans with flashes of greatness, only to stall out in the most disappointing ways possible.